Hey, what's going on, guys? So today I'll be bringing you guys a deck profile on my Chain Beat deck. So this is a deck that's very anti-meta, very control-based. It basically uses Evilswam Thunderbird and Wind Up Rabbit to basically annoy the opponent and whittle away at their resources, because both Wind Up Rabbit and Evilswam Thunderbird can dodge away from a lot of effects and just be really, really hard to kill. And then it also plays a lot of Floodgate and anti-meta cards to control the game and just basically whittle away at your opponent's life points slowly until you do eventually game them. So yeah, very anti-meta, control-based deck, as I said. It's a deck you can build on a very cheap budget, and you don't even really need an extra deck for it, even though you do go into it in emergency situations. But yeah, as I said, very anti-meta, very budget, very fun for me. It's a deck that I think does take a lot of skill to play. You just have to manage your resources very carefully, and it is one that if you play it right, and if you are able to get the right setup, you can definitely have a pretty good control over the game, especially against a lot of the top tier matchups out there. So without further ado, let's get right into the deck profile. Starting off with the monsters, we have the free Wind Up Rabbit and the 2 Evilswam Thunderbird. With Wind Up Rabbit, it's not a once per turn effect that can dodge away, and it can even start its own chain. So even if it's like being attacked, you can use Rabbit's effect to bounce away to protect it. Then it does come back during your next standby phase. And then if you have multiple Rabbits on the board, you can bounce all of them away to avoid massive destruction things like Regeki and Mirror Force. With Evilswam Thunderbird, the reason I don't play 3 of them like I play free Rabbit is because it is a once per turn effect, so you can only bounce 1 Thunderbird away per turn. And then it does have to respond to a card effect as well. So unless you have a card to activate in response to your opponent attacking Thunderbird, you're not able to bounce it away in that situation. But Thunderbird does come back during the next standby phase, and does come back 300 points stronger, so it is a bit beefier than Wind Up Rabbit. Then I do play the 2 Trappers from Melio, just really good, especially in an anti-meta deck like this, to be able to search you out a powerful back row, to be able to fill up your back row with good defense and stun-based cards. So that's really what a deck needs for a strong opening. It's just to be able to have that one monster put on board, and 3, 4, or 5 strong back row that could really help really just establish yourself for the game and really help to get that control going. So Melio is really good for doing that. And then for one of monsters, we have the 1 Banisher, which is basically macro on legs. The 1 Bear, it's a Tenki target along with Rabbit, and you can use Tenki with its effect, send it to the graveyard to destroy a monster your opponent controls. And then of course, if it does inflict battle damage, you can set a Tenki, which can then search you out a Wind Up Rabbit. So basically, Bear is a good toolbox card for the deck. The 1 Fossil Dyna, which is Vanity's Emptiness on legs. The 1 Neospatian Grand Mole, which is Compulse on legs. And finally, the 1 Thunder King Raya, which is basically Mistake on legs and the granddaddy of all anti-meta. So that is it for the monsters, total of 12. Now for the spells. So starting off, I play the 2 Black Garden and the 1 Silver Calcos for the field spells. With Black Garden, basically, when a monster is normal or special summon, that monster's attack points are halved permanently, even if Black Garden leaves the field. And then the opponent of the controller of the monster that was summoned gets a Rose token that's 800 attack and 800 defense, and it also is unaffected by Black Garden. So basically, if I summon a monster, my opponent gets a token. If they summon a monster, I get a token. So that's basically how Black Garden works there. Just really good at making your small monsters in the main deck look a lot bigger than they are, especially being able to back up like Floodgate monsters like Thunder King Ryo, Fossil Dyna, and Banish the Radiance by Black Garden. Just makes it to where it's really tough to get over. And then the reason why I play the Silver Calcos over a 3rd Garden is because there are those times where your opponent already has an established monster on board, and you just need that extra attack power that Silver Calcos can give to beat over it, or you just need the extra attack power from Silver Calcos to be able to get in that extra damage per game. So that's why I do like playing Silver Calcos over the 3rd Black Garden. Then I do run the free Pod Duality for obvious reasons. For searchers, I run the 2 Tenki and the 1 Terraforming. Tenki, of course, to search out Bear and Rabbit, and Terraforming to search out your field spells. The 2 Forbidden Lance, really good for protecting everything that's not Wind Up Rabbit and Evilswam Thunderbird from back row. And it's also a good hand trap for the deck, considering all the monsters in this deck are relatively small on attack power. And then for the final spell, I do run the 1 Regeki. So that was 12 spells. Now for the final 16 traps. So starting off, we have the 2 Compulsory Escape Device. It makes each player shuffle 1 monster on their field into the deck It affects the player and not the monster, which is something to keep in mind. And you can really use this really effectively with this deck to make it to where you're not minusing off the card, because you can either shuffle back a rose token that you don't need, or you can, if your field just consists of rabbits or Thunderbirds, you can bounce those all away in response to Evacuation Device, to where once this resolves, you have no monsters on board, and then you won't have to shuffle monsters, but your opponent will. So you can use this very skillfully, and it's really good to use when your opponent only has one monster on board to shuffle. So Escape Device is just really good for that purpose. The 2 Fiendish Chains for, of course, effect negation and attack stopping as well. The 2 lose 1 turn, being able to stun those Special Summon monsters' effects is really good. Being able to switch under defense mode is really good as well, not only for stalling, but also for the fact that it can help you beat over bigger monsters with some of the smaller monsters in the deck. Considering a lot of Special Summon monsters will have lower defense but higher attack, so lose 1 turn is good for that purpose. Only reason I don't play a 3rd is because if I control a Rose token, I actually cannot Special Summon, or not Special Summon, but I cannot activate lose 1 turn, because I cannot activate lose 1 turn if I control a Special Summon monster, so that is why I only played a 2 lose 1 turn. The 2 Mirror Force for, of course, attack stopping, protecting my Floodgate monsters, and just in general, stunning my opponent. Then for the Mermelio targets, we have the 1 Bottomless, the 1 Time Space Trap, or not 1 Time Space, the 1 Trap to Trap Hole Nightmare, and the 1 Void Trap Hole. The reason I play Void Trap Hole over a second Nightmare is because there are those monsters like Massacre Darklaw, Elfstall Winda, number 101, things like that Nightmare wouldn't really be able to hit, that Void Trap Hole can. And then, of course, it is better when lose 1 turn is on the board, because lose 1 turn will already do the same job that Nightmare is doing, but I can still use Void Trap Hole to just get the monster off the board if I do need to. And that does negate the whole effect, so it gets around things that have continuous destruction protection effects. Then for other one-ofs, we have the 1 Compulsory Evacuation Device, 1 Macrocosmos, 1 Solemn Warning, 1 Torrential Tribute, and then finally the 1 Vanity's Emptiness. So that was a 40-card main deck. Now on to the extra deck, which you barely ever go into except for emergency situations, but it is good to have in case you need it. So for rank 3s, we have the 1 Alucard, 1 Leviair for bringing back banished monsters, Acid Golem for a beater, and then Zen Mains for stalling. For rank 4s, we have Abyss Dweller, Castel, Dark Rebellion, Exciton Knights, Cowboy, Gem Knight Pearl, which is immune to lose 1 turn, 101, 103 Ragnar, which is really good in combination with Black Garden and Forbidden Lance, 82 Heartland Draco for that direct poke for gain, and if you do control like Seal Void Calcos or Black Garden, it also cannot be targeted for attacks either, which is pretty neat. And then to round out the extra deck, we have the combo of Ptolemaeus and Diamond for, of course, Burning Abyss and Shaddolls. So now to wrap it up with the side deck. So starting off here with the monsters, we have the 2 Artifact Lancier for those banished heavy matchups. I unfortunately cannot play Imperial Iron Wall on the side because I do need to banish my Rabbits and Thunderbirds to be able to dodge. But I still can play Lancia because it tributes from the hand. It doesn't send to the graveyard, so it gets around like Macrocosmos and Banisher of Radiance, and it can just stun those banished heavy decks for a turn. Things like Necroz, Infernoids, and Spiritual Beasts. Then I do play the second copy of Banisher to Radiance and Fossil Dyna for those Special Summon heavy and Graveyard heavy decks. I do play the 3 MST as well for annoying back row like Skill Drain, Fiendish Chain, Royal Decree, those counter traps like Telernova Alpha, things like that that can really give my deck a problem. The 3 Mind Crush for those search heavy decks, the 2 Dark Bribe to try to deal with those annoying counter traps. The 1 Chaos Trapple for trying to deal with Denko Sekka and also those Lightning Dark based decks. 1 Polynosis. This you could easily replace with a second Chaos Trapple, but I currently do not own a second one. But Polynosis is kind of interesting because it's basically a Solemn Judgment, but you have to tribute a plant off for it. But of course the Rose token that you get off of Black Garden are plants, so it can be live a good bit of the time, and it can be very powerful if you pull it off, just for that Solemn Judgment based effect. Then finally the 1 Time Space Trap Hole, which is good to side Trap Hole Nightmare out for in the Cleefort matchup, since this does a lot more to them than Trap Hole Nightmare. So that is it for the deck profile, guys. I do hope you guys enjoyed it. Please like the video if you did, and let me know what you thought about the deck in the comment section below. I definitely am open to any suggestions you guys may have as far as how to make the deck better. And currently I am showing you guys the tokens I use for this deck, since you use these a lot more than the extra deck, of course, for Black Garden. So thank you guys so much for watching as always, and I will catch you guys next time.